I have a special treat for you today. We have a hot seat human design business coaching episode. I'm going to be offering these from here on in with the goal of getting up to 2 episodes a week delivered to your earbuds. Very, very exciting stuff happening over here on Unjaded. Today I'm speaking with Tara Shaw. Tara hails from Ottawa, and she is a yoga teacher and a life coach. And she is the founder of Loose Grip Coaching Online. Tara's a generator, and we talked a lot about the niche conversation, which can be really hard for, it can be hard for all of us, but it can be really especially hard for generators and manifesting generators, I find. So we talked about the niche conversation. We talked about how to actually use her generator strategy to build her business. She is still working full time for another 15 years. At least that's the plan now. And she would like to build her business by honoring the gifts within her human design. So we're unpacking all of that today on Unjaded.
Welcome to Unjaded. I'm your host, Vicki Dixon. This is a podcast with a human design spin on building the life, the relationships, and the business that you were made for. Let's dive in.
Okay, so welcome, Tara. We are going to be talking about your business today, and I believe that you are a yoga teacher and a life coach. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and how long have you been in business?
Very fresh. So Loose Grip Athletics has been open for 2 years now. The yoga, I just received my 200-hour YTT in August of 2023. So right after that, I kind of started, the wheels started turning about offering it as a service. Corporate was kind of my thought, and sports teams was my direction. And then, life coaching kind of came about after I hired a business coach myself. And I really fell in love with the process. And when I looked back at my notes, when I started yoga teacher training, like a coaching certification was actually in my pyramid of plans, but it went to the wayside because of the cost of it. So what ended up happening was I was able to kind of leverage my full-time job, and they're covering that training certification for me. So I'm in the process of completing it, but have had some clients and just really enjoy, I couldn't believe the feeling of coaching people through things. It's so incredible. So I was like, I think this might be it.
That's
but
cool.
The door's always open. So we never know.
I love that when that happens. So before we go really deep into the weeds on this, I would love to ask you, what is your goal for this quick little session that we're having? We come out of this, what would be a win for you?
Yeah, I think if I'm encouraged based on my human design to go in a specific direction, either whether it be like my niche clients or niche work, because I've kind of been really open and I'm multi-passionate. So I don't like committing to one thing and narrowing it down. So I've been kind of fluid. And, I often wonder, is that to my detriment?
Okay.
If I'm trying to please everybody, I'm pleasing nobody. If I'm trying to attract everybody, I'm attracting nobody. I want to help everybody is kind of what I would consider my problem. But maybe I need to get really clear on who it is I really want to help, who really needs my help. So if I can walk away with some kind of direction on that would be a win for me.
Okay, that's a tall order. The niche conversation is always so huge. It's so crazy. And then 6 months from now, say that, I meet you on the street 6 months from now, and you tell me about your perfect business that you have developed. What does that look like?
I have clients, and I'm able to sustain it, with a really slow build, but I've committed to keeping it something on the side. So for myself, there was a lot of push and pull about really wanting to leave my full-time and pursue something. But in this moment, I'm really happy and grateful to just be able to balance the two things. So in 6 months from now, if I've been able to grow my client list, if I've been able to help people along the way, whether I'm just engaging, having good discussions with people in the community or whatnot, and slowly building that clientele, that would be great.
Okay. And what is your full-time gig?
I am a federal public servant.
No way.
Yes way.
Wow, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I love that that takes some pressure off. If it's that, you're looking at this as a side hustle for a little while to get it built up, that definitely takes some pressure off of you to do. So how familiar are you with your human design?
Well, the first thought is that I start to compare myself to other people, but, I can't do that. I get it. I get my centers. I get the gates. I get the process of it. I get the shadow self. I get that I'm a generator, and I kind of get why. Yeah. I mean, I guess overall I get it, but there's so much to it, right? Like all the gates and gifts. I haven't dug into everything yet. So I know it, I get it, but there's always more to learn.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many layers of human design. It's just crazy. The more you learn, the more you want to learn. So many layers of it. Yeah. Okay. So the niche conversation is huge and interesting to me because it feels like we're all on this, this runway where we have to choose a niche. That's a niche if you're listening from the US, but niche here in Canada. Where we really want to. And there's something to be said for having a super tight niche. It really does make your marketing easier and all of those things. However, I think when you're brand new in business, at some point you have to look at that your niche will find you and that you will just gradually over time tighten it up and tighten it up and tighten it up. So particularly with your incarnation cross, which is interesting because we have almost the same, just in different places, but we have the same 4 gates in our incarnation cross. I don't know if you knew that. So that's kind of fun.
I didn't know that. And I will just add that I actually reached out to somebody to ask specifically about my incarnation cross too. So that's so funny because I haven't put a lot of emphasis on that area yet. So
yeah. Okay. So for our listeners, your incarnation cross is the plot line of your life. It is the story that's going to play out through your life. So it's a really important piece of the puzzle. And when we're looking at your incarnation cross, we're looking at the top 4 gates. So the top 2 gates on the right side and then the top 2 gates on the left side. So for Tara, so we're looking at gates 14, 8, 29, and 30, which are the same gates that I have to think about all the time. So it's so cool. So gate 14, your conscious sun. It's said that 70% of your design goes through that gate of your conscious sun. It's your brand. It's who you are here to be, is that conscious sun. And gate 14 is all about finding creative work that you absolutely love and doing it with all of your heart. It's possession in great measure in the I Ching. And I find that it's a real energy of bringing new opportunities to people. So that's life coaching, is bringing new opportunities to people and helping them to see the opportunities that are there. And then gate 8 is the energy that grounds you. And gate 8 is all about contribution. What am I here to contribute? How am I going to contribute? So what's going to keep you feeling grounded in your life is that you're here for a contribution. And that may or may not be in the federal service. It sounds like this side hustle could be the thing that's like, actually, okay, here's how I'm going to make a contribution to people. And then gate 30, which is on your unconscious side, is your unconscious earth. It's intensity. So I'm just curious if you ever get told you're too intense or too intimidating or too much or anything like that.
I tell myself all the time I'm too intense. Yeah, I like even coming into this session, I was like, take a deep breath and just be calm when you're in it. Because when I get passionate about something, it's like the hands are flying, the voice gets loud, I'm definitely intense. I don't really so much feel like other people tell me that, but I feel it when I walk away from a conversation. I'm like, oh, that was tough. Yeah. Maybe I need to calm down.
And I would beg you not to calm down.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because whenever you look at a design at a chart and you see gate 30 even once, that's an intense individual. You're going to be faced with an intense individual, and then you've got it defined twice in your design and it's in a prominent place. So I bet when you are fire, when you're passionate, when you're talking with your hands and going crazy, that's when people love you the most. And you're the most magnetic. That's your generator self, right? Being magnetic and drawing people to you. But it's always the place, I feel like, especially as women, it's the place where we try to soften and try to take the edge off because you're too loud, you're too much, you're the one talking in class, you're the one, making a scene of yourself, all of those things that aren't really popular in our culture. So that fire and that intensity is what's going to keep you grounded in your life. And I mean, it's a big part of who you're here to be. And then gate 29 is devotion and commitment. Again, it's one of my favorite gates. You have so many of my favorite energies in human design. So for you, it's so that channel, channel of discovery 2946 is all about succeeding where others fail and failing where others succeed. And it's like, once you get clear on what you're going to do, the trick for you is to go with reckless abandon. Just let go of every bit of anything standing in your way and just go for it. Because once you've committed, when you know it's the right thing for you, when you've leaned into your sacral and you've asked and you've gotten your answer from your sacral, and then you've ridden out your emotional solar plexus, which is always so much fun. I have that too. Oh my gosh. But that's going to be a real key, is like committing to the right thing, because once you're in it, you'll not easily let it fall by the wayside. But when you're really in it and you've let go of everything that could possibly go wrong, or all of the what ifs and the should I's and all of that, you can be absolutely magnetic and fiery in that, whatever that commitment is for you. And it's where you've got a lot of conditioning. That unconscious sun is where you have a lot of conditioning around what you've committed to, maybe being a generator, also around quitting things too soon, giving up before you see them to fruition. You're nodding your head. People on the podcast can't hear you nodding your head, but I'm like, oh, okay. So talk to me about that.
Well, a perfect example was just the other day. I was having a conversation with a family member, just saying, I feel like maybe I've settled in and I've accepted that I'm a public servant and I'm grateful for it, and I can do two things at once, and, I'll be retiring eventually, and then I can kind of lift off with my own thing. Maybe isn't such a bad thing after all. Oh, yeah, no, you should never leave the government. And like, I almost get aggressive about it now. I'm like, do not put your stuff on me. Like, it's not logic that is making me stay. It's trying something new that's making me stay, trying to shift my perspective that's making me stay and be okay with this right now. Logic is lost on me completely. Like, my heart was like, quit the government, don't worry about it, just go, you'll be okay. And I was like, I have children and a mortgage, and I didn't believe it. And in a perfect world, I would have just jumped and it would have been okay. The universe supports me all the time. I recognize that, but it's just a perspective shift for me right now in trying to find that balance between staying where I am and being able to do the thing that lights me up. And if I can have any influence, I'll be able to make my contribution in the workplace too. And this was something very new for me. I never knew that I had a choice with a government job, right? I just did what I was told, and my objectives every year were what would be for the better of the branch or the unit. And then I just turned around and was like, this is what's going to be better for me, because it's not been good for me. And I only have, 15 years left. I want to make it my own. And I have a lot more to give than what these stinky little objectives are every year. And they were like, sure, no problem. And I was
right
like,
on.
whoa,
Yeah.
Really? Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's do it. Yeah. Just lots of conditioning, in a government town like Ottawa, you're kind of born and raised, like, get in the government, have a secure job, security, pension. And then I've kind of become my own person. And it's like, life can be taken away from you at any minute. Why would you live for decades from now when you should be living right now? So yeah, really been on the hunt, I guess, for like, what is my passion? And I've always had a side thing going on. I was in the government and I started doing hairstyling. I got my education all done while I was still in the government. And then I left and I was like, I'm just going to be a hairstylist. And then I went back to the government and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to upcycle furniture. Yeah, this is beautiful. I love it. Oh, it's so creative. I get to be alone and like in my body and in my mind and like making these things for other people. This is great. And I was like, I'm over it. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a new company and we're going to sell clothes. And that's kind of how Loose Grip Athletics started. It was like, I just, kind of did this branding with these clothes, wanted to get the name out there, wanted to build this community, and it morphed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like going way off track. But as I scrolled through my Instagram, I realized the message has been the same from the beginning. It's just looked different in my mind. So it was always to build a community, to foster growth, transparency, your values and mindfulness and all of that. And it still is, whether we're doing yoga or whether we're talking about how you're going to enjoy your life and take a different look at it and see yourself in a better way, go after those things that you want, it's still the same thing. So yeah, it's been interesting to watch it evolve. And it's also been an interesting process with human design because it's in the back of my mind a lot. It's like, I question, why are you thinking this? And is this what you really want to think, or is this what you've been told to think? And so I often am able to kind of take a step back and question everything, really. But, yeah.
And I think that's where like the whole you are the niche comes in, when you can look back at your life and see, oh yeah, I did the same thing in this and this and this and this, and they had nothing to do with each other. And you're playing out your incarnation cross and your purpose in whatever you do. It's interesting to see how you have gone through, and you talk a lot about, keeping a foundation and then building something else. And that's so that fourth line energy. So Tara I will put Tara's chart in the show notes for you, but Tara, without your birth information on it, Tara is a 4/6. So that fourth line profile is very much about community. You talk about building a community. So that's definitely a part of why you're here, because your profile is the role that you play in this plot line of your life that is your incarnation cross. So you're here to build communities and you're here to build foundations. It's very rare that someone who's a fourth line profile would drop a government job and go off here and like just start something new and never have a plan, right? You move from foundation to foundation to foundation as you go through life. And I think that there's something peaceful about being okay with that, understanding that, okay, this is how I'm here to be, whether someone else thinks it's right or wrong, this is how I'm here to be. And then that sixth line is huge for you, especially right now, because you're 40, right?
Yeah. New to the world of 40.
Yeah. Exciting times. Yeah. You look amazing. If you're listening to the podcast, you can't see how good Tara looks, but I thought you were like 25 or something when you got on the call. So, wow.
Well, now I'm blushing.
But that sixth line profile, you tell me, has this been an uncomfortable time? Like when I talk with sixth line profiles who are between 30 and 50, they're like, oh, I've had so much stuff I've had to get through. And I just don't ever feel comfortable with myself. I'm doing all of this work and I still don't feel comfortable with myself. Has that been your experience as a sixth line?
I wouldn't say I'm uncomfortable. I have days, but I would say I've had a lot of stuff, but I already feel like I'm at the point where I'm thankful for even the worst of the stuff, because it is what brought me here. And if I didn't go through that stuff, I don't even want to know who I would still be. I'm super thankful for the last 5-10 years, even if they didn't go the way I thought they would have 15 years ago. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. What is the next 10 years going to bring? I don't know. I hope that it's as good as this. I'm feeling really good and everything now, but there are days when I'll look at my gene keys, let's say, and I'll be like, oh, at the bottom, oof, I'm there. Why am I still there? Have I not gone into the city yet? Or am I not like in the gift of this? And, some days, no, I'm not. And that's okay. I get that we're going to kind of move in and out of them. But having that awareness at the end of the day is just like what makes me keep going and feel okay about it, as long as I'm not putting the blinders on.
Mm-hmm. And I think like Richard Rudd always talks about in Gene Keys, how it's not linear. It's not like you go from, the shadow to the gift to the city. You're going to flow in and out. We are all going to flow in and out of those energies as life moves us around, or as we say on Unjaded, kicks us around a little bit. We're going to move in and out of those energies. And I think that's the greatest gift of human design, is like, it's bringing you home to yourself, and it's letting you realize that like, oh, okay, this is really actually okay with me.
Yeah, definitely.
But the life coach, bringing the life coach and the yoga and all of your life experience into whatever business it is that you choose to have as the side gig. And I love how you have had all of these side gigs all along, because it's such a generator path, right? And sometimes, is your clothing company still going? So
it was Loose Grip Athletics. It just kind of pivoted from, selling sweaters and tank tops and being at CrossFit functions to like trying to build up the Instagram community. I have a monthly newsletter now, and that is, everything from A to Z. Like one month I'm going to talk about something, and the next month it's going to be something else. So it's been interesting to see kind of what people are interested in based on how many new additions I get to the community each month. We're just on month 3 right now, so it's also very fresh. but the clothes are still around, whether or not, they stay or return every so often. It's like a little bit of a focus. I just get these zingers in my head and I'm like, that belongs on a shirt. So, for that reason, I don't want to cut the clothing out completely, but yeah, for now, we're really focusing on like just building that clientele and helping people directly.
Okay. And you'll bring your coaching into that or spin off of it?
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have clients now?
I have had a few clients. Yep. I don't have any long-term clients. So I've had like one-offs and it's been good experiences. Same with the yoga. I did recently go into a local business and did a session for the staff, and that was really good. But I don't have anything that's recurring right now. And that's where I would like to get to. I'd like to have, people that are willing to invest in the kind of the regular work, not just the one-off things.
Okay. So do the people that have come to you have any kind of things in common? Like, do you have any idea where you're starting from?
So interestingly enough, I was like, how about I put a call out to see if people in this category, that category, or that category are willing to talk to me. And from them, I wanted to see what's the similarities between those three categories that these people are having issues, like what's their main pain point and do they connect? I didn't get it wasn't diverse. So it was basically like two categories mostly that came. And so I haven't been able to say, what the underlying issue here is. I mean, I think a lot of it is confidence. I think people are lacking confidence, self-worth, trust in themselves. I just want to be like, go download your human design and figure it out, okay? Like, so you start putting in some time reading, but it's not that easy and it takes a lot of time. And in the end, those sessions that I offered those people, they were like, okay, thanks for the information. And like, I'll be in touch if I want any support down the road. Okay, that's great. So, again, that commitment wasn't there for me to be able to dig into the things with them and get through that work and help them out with it. But it got me thinking, what is my goal then? And that's where I came up with Success Coach, because it was like, no matter what it is you do or want, I want you to feel like you've achieved success from there. And maybe that's just inside of you, or maybe that's a dollar sign in your bank account, or maybe that's, whatever the case may be. It could be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I felt like it was a good generic blanket statement. And then I got thinking, that's almost daunting. Like the word success is almost daunting to people. What about like betterment? I don't know. So I'm still floating around there, right? I'm very like watery, moving with this. What is my title really going to be? So Still haven't landed on that, but I just want people to feel good.
Okay. So I think market research is definitely in order. Do you have, I know you have communities that you've built. Do you have a large enough community that you could put it out? Yeah. Okay. So doing some market research, whether you want to have, some people like coffee chats, it just depends on what suits your life, right? Today I worked with someone and she is a breathwork coach, and she was going to offer, a 15-minute breathwork session. And I want you to come in and answer these 3 or 4 questions for me. And then we'll do, so you want to, I believe when you're doing market research, if you're calling people in for a coffee chat or something, I think there should be something in it for them, because people don't have unlimited amounts of time that they can just help us with our market research. But you really want to know what kind of language, what do your people want? Do they want success? Is success daunting for them? Like maybe you're here to work with people who are all in for every kind of success they can get, and they aren't intimidated by that. I think we need to watch out for terms like better, because it's like, what's better? You want something that's an actual transformation from this to this type of thing. You need something like that. But I think your people will tell you if you can get into your community, if you have some sort of, it depends on, some people would rather not comment on Instagram and they'll DM you some stuff or just not. But Facebook seems to be a little bit more promising for people getting into the community involvement. It just depends on where you're at, but where you can ask questions and you can put up poll stickers in your stories and ask, I'm working on something. Does this resonate with you, or does this resonate with you? Or if I were to create 30-day program for blank, would that interest you? Or, does this or this affect you every day? And how often does this affect you? Is this a daily thing, a weekly thing, a monthly thing? All kinds of different engagement strategies that you can use and use it as market research, because that will lead you towards what it is that you want to start with. And just really try to not have it in your head that this is the thing. I don't think you do, but that this is the thing that I have to do for the rest of my life. Like, I'm choosing my niche and it's like, this is this narrow thing I have to do forever, because it's going to gradually evolve as you evolve in business. And the more people you work with, the more you'll be shown what kind of people you're going to work with. Like, it just naturally happens. But I think we get so caught up in this niche, and believe me, manifesting generator with intensity and all of those things, like, holy hell, I get so caught up in what is the niche? And it's like, no, okay, people are following you. And it sounds like in your, your newsletter, and you said you pick and choose little bits of every little bit of thing. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's okay. I mean, you have this cross that's all about someone following you for you. One of the other things, I mean, you have so much in your design, but one of the things that you have as a theme in your design, pretty big theme, is that gate 11, the gate of ideas. So that's one thing that, could be something that might distract you. Maybe. So it's just like, I mean, the ideas are just like fire hosing into your brain. So really getting into your sacral. Do you feel like you have a really good handle on your sacral response?
I don't know if I would say that I do. It's interesting about the riding out the emotional wave, because I can ride anything out and let it go away. Basically, if I wait long enough, like, it's gone, and then I'm like, oh, all power to me. I didn't act on that thing. But did I just let a good thing go? I'm sure that, if it was meant to be, it'd keep creeping back to me. I would say I definitely know when something's not for me, which has really been eye-opening, like incredibly helpful. And if I look back, I always felt it. I just didn't know that I could trust it or should trust it. I don't like using the word should. But yeah, it's always been there. I just didn't know it was real.
Mm-hmm. It's so tragic how we are conditioned away from that first in our lives.
Yeah.
So crazy. It's the one big intuitive piece of us. And I mean, your sacral is lit up. It's your power center for sure. I mean, you've got all these gates lit up there that are absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I would get making sure that you're really leaning into your sacral. And I'm saying things that you probably know, but maybe a listener doesn't know, that you can tap into your sacral and ask your sacral. So you can just continue to ask your sacral as you're processing some of these ideas, because you probably get a ton of them. Let them move through your sacral and then through your emotional system. So yeah, the waiting. And I feel like when my lived experience anyway has been that, like you said, when the things are not for me, I'm very clear on it after I've waited it out, and I don't feel sad about it at all. Whereas, I don't have that decision regret that I used to have, as long as I lean into my emotional solar plexus. But if I don't lean into it from time to time, immediate decision regret.
The question should be yes, no, right?
Yes, no.
Ask myself a yes, no question. Go with the gut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you have people in your life ask you yes or no questions as well?
My daughter's pretty good about yes or no questions. Yeah, I would say she's pretty clear about, like, can I, do this? So that makes it good for me too. I would say a lot of other times people just kind of say, I don't know, you pick. I'm like,
horrible for a generator type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we going for dinner? I don't know, you pick.
Yeah. Okay. Ouch. So in Tara's design, just if you're listening in Tara's design, she has an undefined ajna center, a defined emotional solar plexus, and a defined sacral, which means that she's built for yes or no questions and a lot of uncertainty in her life. So that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it is a really bad thing if someone asks you where you want to go for dinner. If you're at a restaurant and you're trying to choose between 3 meals, it can be paralyzing. Yeah, like all of the little decisions are so hard. And I feel like in our society, like people want to give you this or this or this. They want to give you choices, right? And it is terrible for a generator type. So if you're listening and you're a generator or a manifesting generator, see if you can get the people on board, people in your life on board, to ask you yes or no questions. And you want to get to the point where you're answering with that or noise from your body. And I find it's interesting when I'm working with generators and mani-gens, and you might even notice yourself doing it, but we say a lot, like we actually have a hum about us once we've gotten in touch with our sacral center. So that I think is, for any generator type, it's going to be gold. But for you with this gate of ideas, like, And I mean, I think it's defined 3 times in your design. Yeah, 3 times in your design. It's one of your natural gifts. And it's also a big part of your purpose is that gate 11. So,
Okay.
I mean, it isn't an undefined center. So you're not consistently having access to it, depending on who else in your household is defined in those areas as well. It would be interesting to see. But it's definitely going to play to having you more in your head than in your body. And as you're making these decisions to move forward with your business, it would be really helpful to get into your sacral and just keep asking your sacral the questions that you need the answers to.
I find myself, and maybe this is just being 40, but if I have an idea, I have to write it down. And then I can go back to it. And like I said earlier, too, I surprise myself. I'll go back and go, wow, I didn't even remember that was on my mind. Like, it's like these things just come up and I write them down and I'm in the moment, I'm in the flow. And then, I put it away and it's gone. And that kind of like that emotional roller coaster is like, past. And then all of a sudden it pops back up into my life, like a year later, and here it is happening. And it's like, wow, okay, cool. This is going. So it's nice because things come up kind of so often. And I can't tell you how many times I thought, oh, this would make a really good post. I should say this. It's like I feel it with my whole body. And then I don't write it down and it's completely gone. I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to do things as they're happening.
That's the generator thing, right? It's like we have to be in response in the moment. And yes, you can write the post down. So if you have a Trello board or something like that, you can totally write it down and keep track of all these things. But it's when you're in response, your copy will be so freaking magnetic. It will draw people to you like nobody's business. And even with this gate 11, I know I keep harping on gate 11, but you brought up something to my mind. I always have people with gate 11 keep an idea book because it gives you more things to respond to. So you're here as a steward of ideas. All of the ideas aren't for you. You couldn't possibly use all the ideas for yourself that you have in a day. So Karen Curry Parker describes it, just for our listeners, she describes it like if we were to go to the ocean, 3 of us were go to the ocean, one of us would take a teaspoon, one of us would take a measuring cup, and you'd be backing up tanker trucks for the ideas in that ocean. And that's how it is all the time. So having an idea book can be really, really powerful for you, and understanding that some of them are not for you. And then I love to have people have a real ritual around it. Maybe it's a once a month coffee date with yourself, whatever it is for you that feels really nourishing, and really going through that idea book. And some of them will be things for you to respond to for your own business and your own content.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I actually approached a girlfriend of mine this morning and I said, I'm not trying to do your business for you, but I just had this download and I had to share it with you. And this could be a really good idea. It could work well for you. And I told her, and I was like, that's it. I'm not forcing you to do anything. It's just not my business. So do with it what you want. But yeah, it's like, sometimes I can't even help it. Somebody says something and I'm like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do that. And I was like, yeah, it's not my place.
So what about that in a coaching business?
Thought about that momentarily. Yeah, I guess I'd have to work through that because my instant thought is, you haven't turned anything into success. You start things and then you move on. You start things and then you move on. But there's a lot of people that can't even get past that first hump of starting things, right? So it's like that whole initial process to me doesn't seem like a big deal. It's like, bam, get a new handle on Instagram, open up an account, take some pictures, start writing stuff. But other people are like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly. So, that's definitely something to consider too. And now you've planted the seed and I'm going to write it down. I'm going to journal around it. Yeah. And who knows what the future holds with that too.
And if you love that type of work, like you said, there are a lot of people that have a hard time getting started, and it's magic. And that is your generator. This thing that you have about, well, I start something and then I'm done, and then I start something, and then I'm done, and then that's the generator path. So we have to stop making that wrong. I mean, you succeed at something, you master it, and then you move on to something else. And your job in life is to make sure you are satisfied. That's it. That's your job. As long as you're satisfied, that aura of yours is just going to keep drawing more stuff to satisfy you. And then you light up the people around you. And it's just this beautiful cycle of things that happen. So it could be something to explore. I don't know your style, what you absolutely love to do. If you want to be in a longer term coaching container with people, or if you just feel like that's how a real coach works. That was an either or.
I don't know. I guess I haven't experienced being in a longer retainer style with a client. I think that I would like it. I see the benefits of one-offs too, but I guess what I want is for the people to put in the work too, because it's not my job to do your thing for you, right? And so that longer style is where I would be able to hold the people accountable over time instead of like, here's an idea, here's some thoughts. What do you think? Tell me what you think. What are you going to do? And then they disappear into the abyss.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't get that tangible result, right? That aha. So yeah, the longer style would be good. And, you know, it doesn't have to be when you want to start something up. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long time. It might just be a 2-month period and you're off and you go. And then maybe you come back later for like other mentorship or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's very interesting.
A membership could be a powerful offer for you too.
Okay.
Because I mean, you're 4/6, right? So you have, and the other thing, one of the things in your design is Gate 50 is another repeating theme. And Gate 50 is that Papa Bear energy. So it's really like, but it's also the rub of it is, I feel like I'm responsible for everybody. Who am I really responsible for? How am I going to hold people accountable? That can be the rub against it. But it's really good energy for, and you have the 59/6 as well. So you've got this tribal breaking down people's defenses energy that could hold people in a membership very well, along with your 4th line. I mean, I think we all have to remember we can do whatever we want, right? We can do whatever we want. We all have all of the chart. It comes at us in different points in time, depending on what's defined and what's not. But we have access to the whole kit and caboodle, right? So I was going to say that's more to think about, but hopefully not to think about more. Hopefully it's to sacral about.
Yeah, to feel about.
Yeah.
Some more to feel about. No, definitely is. Yeah, I guess like kind of what pops into my mind is just that conditioning that like, oh, you haven't done it, or who are you to do X, Y, Z, you know, but when I sit with that, I'm able to kind of see if you just do it, then you will have done it. And then you're the person that did do it. So
yeah,
kind of that cycle.
And I always have that quote in the back of my mind. I'm going to mess it up here, but you know, the people who say that it can't be done should not interrupt the people who are doing it. You know, something like that. Because I think this was a big theme in the reading that I had this morning too, where she was like, there's going to be people who know what I have and haven't done in my life, and they're going to criticize me, and they're going to come after me, and and it's like, those aren't your people. For one thing, those people, I'm putting that in air quotes, but they're not going to be the ones who are watching what you're doing and really paying that much attention anyway, because they really don't think about you that much. And the people who are your people, when you're living on purpose and when you're really being who you came here to be, you're going to draw your people to you that are meant for you. And they're not going to be checking to see, what have you done that you can show me this, you know?
Yeah. And all they're going to see is that you proved them wrong. And they won't have anything to say then. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for you, really, and I mean, it seems like it's too easy. And that's a question that I love to ask myself sometimes is, what would I do if this were easy? Because we don't let it be easy. We think it has to be so much more complicated. And especially as a generator, I mean, you feel like it can't possibly be so simple that I just have to respond to things that are happening. Like that cannot be a business strategy. But it is. And so much of your design is like that people just want to follow what you're doing. And people just, when you're committed to the right thing, they're going to be drawn to you. And they are going to follow you because of the contribution that you're making and the intensity that you're bringing and the commitment and the devotion that you have. That's all going to be there for them. But it's all about doing your life's work.
I have a question. What about I don't know if it's kind of opposite, or maybe it's actually one and the same, but all of the, you know, the gift of ideas and all these ideas that are flowing into my mind, and then the responding. So it's like, to me, I guess I'm answering my own question. So if I get an idea, I have to choose to respond or not. But when I think of responding, I think of not doing. And I think that I'm supposed to just sit and wait for the thing to come to me from someone else. And I am not a sitter. Like, I'm a doer. Let's do this. Let's get after it. It may or may not work, and then move on. So I guess I was viewing the responding differently than what it really is.
Well, to me, responding is being in action.
Okay.
It's like that is an actual, like I'm touching my sacral. I know you can't see that on the podcast, but it's like my sacral center I feel like my sacral has, a rope that's like dragging me around the world. That's like showing me the things that are meant for me. And I'm actually like, response is an action. So I'm taking action on those things that I'm responding to. Now, are you responding to the ideas in your head? Yes and no. That is an undefined center for you. So that is, our openness, our undefined centers are where we're breathing in life, where we're taking in everything from other places. And our definition is where we're breathing out into the world and being who we are. So yes, you could respond to an idea, but personally, if it were me in my life experience, I would ask for confirmation. I talk to the universe all day long and ask for a signee or sign or a little bit more confirmation, today I had someone come to me with an idea for something and I'm like, okay, I have to wait for something to respond to. Just now, technically that was something to respond to, but I'd like to have another thing to make sure that I'm on the right track. And then I also have the emotional solar plexus thing that just drives me crazy trying to wait it out. Because we don't like to wait, right? Generator types, we don't want to wait. We don't have patience. But yeah, I think it is an action. Response is absolutely an action. And when you're in touch with your sacral, you can feel your sacral. Like you can feel the excitement, the butterflies, I call it zhuzhing. Like it feels like it's all zhuzhed up. It's like my sacral is dancing towards something. So then wading through my emotional solar plexus is painful because it's like I'm all fired up for something. But I've learned, because I have intensity in my design, that when I get too fired up, air quotes, too fired up, I can act too quickly. But I think response is action. That was a very long answer, but that's what it feels like in my body.
Yeah. You just hit the nail on the head with the respond too quickly thing. Cause like, that's kind of what I mean. Like, am I jumping on things too fast, but getting used to the emotional wave? Would you put a time frame on that emotional wave?
Well, you're lucky, but in the sense that yours is not as ratchety as some, right? Like I have the really ratchet low and up high.
Okay.
So yours is going to be a little bit more even tempered, shall we say, because that gate 6 is like the border guard for the emotional solar plexus. So you're just kind of like weighing everything through that gate 6 in the emotional solar plexus, and it's more even keeled energy. But probably there've been times in your life where like it's like a volcano of emotion coming out of you, and then you may not have that for another 20 years. That's usually what this energy of this 59-6 is, just a little more stable on the everyday basis. And you might have little bits of lows, but they're not going to be super, super high and super, super low as a rule. Everybody has moods and we have hormones and all of those things as well. But I would say it's not going to be. Now that gate 30 though could be the gift that keeps on giving in your emotional solar plexus.
Intense.
Yeah. Intensity, and also like a restlessness to try to change something, because it's looking for that gate 41, right? So it's like something has to change, something has to change, something has to change.
Oh my God, I'm going to barf.
Because
I just feel like that a lot. And, I'm like, why can't I just settle and be? And I kind of growing up, like we moved a lot. We moved every year. My parents split. Like it was just lots of instability. And I was like, when I get older, I'm just going to be like stable. I'm going to stay in one spot. And I'm not. And I'm always like, oh, I'll just open the realtor app here and see if there's any houses that might land under my purview. Like I just always thinking and debating and contemplating and questioning instead of just being. And so when I put a lot of intention into it, I can just be. And sometimes I notice I'm being, and it like feels so great. I'm so proud of myself. But a lot of times there's like the hamsters are on the wheel all the time, in the heart, in the mind, in the gut. It's like, what else? What else? You
have a highly pressurized design. I know that you know that, but when people are looking at the show notes, a highly pressurized design, like there is so much pressure here because your root and your head are completely open. So, nothing is good or bad in human design, but it's just, there's a lot of pressure. It's like, I would look at this chart and be like, oh, okay, this person is in a pressure cooker. How can we get her some tools, which you already have with yoga and the life coaching skills and all of these things that you have? But it's like, how can we take this pressure down a notch? How can you realize that, the thing that Ra always said about the open head is asking, does this matter to me right now?
Key. Absolutely key. Yes. Yeah. Is this mine?
Yeah.
And the answer is so often no. And I wish I would have asked myself that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that is absolutely key. And I try to share that with my kids too.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe try to share stuff with my kids, and I'm not certain of their design. I had pulled it up previously. Yeah, but you know, I'm always like, oh, listen to your gut. Well, maybe that's not for them. But yeah, I'm always like, yeah, make sure you're not carrying things that don't belong to you, because that's 100%. A waste of energy.
Yeah. And it's always at bedtime when that open head starts to just go wild. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 So take really good care of your adrenals, which is your open root, but which you probably already do with your yoga and things. But yeah, it's really standing in who you are, that definition, those defined spaces. Just hold on to that.
Okay.
And I will look forward to having you update us about the niche conversation as you go along. Yeah. So talk to me about where people can find you. If people want to look you up online, how do they find you?
On Instagram, I'm at loosegrip.coaching. And online, I am loosegripathletics.ca. Email info@loosegripathletics.ca. And I'm not on Facebook, but I am Tara Shaw. And if you want to give me a follow, if there's enough interest there, maybe I can shift over to the world of Facebook. But something we didn't talk about today, but I really teeter on the whole social media thing. You know, I want that connection with people. That's kind of why I'm doing this. And sometimes it feels like a drain, not a fuel. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I would love if people want to send me an email or find my phone number and give me a call. Like that's great. Let's connect. Let's go grab a coffee. If you're local to Kemptville or surrounding areas, I do run the Saturday 9 a.m. yoga class at Bodhi Tree here in town every other Saturday. So, yeah, I'm enjoying teaching there. And I'm a member at CrossFit Kemptville as well. I actually coach a little bit there as well. And I do the Friday night yoga session there too. So kind of all over the place. I keep myself busy, and yeah, just really enjoying building this community and meeting new people.
Good. We will link all of those things in the show notes for our listeners. And I'll look forward to seeing what you do as you grow your business.
Thanks, Vicki. It's been great talking with you, and so much awesome information. Thank you.
You're welcome.